Hello, my name is Sergeant Lance Leuliette with the Forsyth County Fire Department, and today we're going to discuss some topics about the California wildfires in relation to Georgia. There's a questionnaire we're going to get involved with, so if you all have the first question.
At first, how would you define a fast-moving fire, like in California?
Okay, define a wildland fire. Let's go with that. Whether it be California or on the Georgia coast or in the Tennessee or flat plains, a wildland fire is a fire in a wooded or a forest area or a natural barrier area. It is just of the natural materials burning that are present. That would be a wildfire. Causes are either human, nature, sometimes it could be a lightning strike, which commonly you'll see can start fires. A dry front moves through, sparks off lightning, strikes a tree. The tree burns for a day or two, then falls to the ground and starts a fire. Sometimes it may be tree into power lines. Sometimes it could be an animal that gets sparked or gets shocked by an electrical current and starts the fire. Other times it's humans because of bad management of campfires, unattended fires. It could be a chain or a brake chamber on a mechanical device, whether it be a truck or a train. So there's a lot of different ways that fires happen. Why are they this way? We have had a problem over the years that is building, and it's fuel loading. The fuel loading is so great on the forest floors in areas that these fires are now starting to become what we called and started to call back in the early 2000s is mega fires. There's so much fuel that is prominent and ready to burn that intensifies burn by giving off extra BTUs going from the ground all the way up through the treetops, where in earlier history back in the 40s and 50s we didn't quite see fires of this magnitude. Why are so many fires happening? It's simple. There's a few different things we need to look at with why there's so many fires. More and more people are getting out into the wilderness, into the parks, and they're venturing out into things. They're building homes further out. As more and more population grows, the demand is there more. More power lines. That means more chances for trees. More people living in an environment out in an urban setting. So they're out there. It could be ashes from a fireplace that starts one of these fires. So there's more interaction between humans and that are out there in the urban interface or wilderness area, recreation area as you may know it. So that is going to raise in the level of fires.
Does climate change affect the intensity of these fires?
That is an open question to this day that is still a very big debate. I will tell you this, what affects a wildfire simply is the weather. Not just the weather today, but over the last year, last week, last months, right up to this minute affects a fire very drastically. If it's been dry for a long period of time and then you have a fire, it's going to be more intense. The fuels that are present determines the fire, and the topography. So you have the weather, which consists of how much rain we've gotten, how much wind may be blowing, the direction it may be going. That influences a fire. You have the topography. Fire will move faster up a hill than it will down a hill, commonly. So that all has effect. Whether it's climate change related or not, that is something that is beyond my scope. But weather and the fuels and the topography of the layout of the land is what determines how bad a fire can be.
In an article that was reporting on the results of the California fire, an assemblyman who had seen the site, the results, he had said that in the end we had people who said that they had no notice of the fire. How will the fire department organize a strategy or a plan to target communication issues and make sure everyone is safe in the future?
It's very simple. If there's a threat to the citizens of Forsyth County, it will be initiated through our EOC, our emergency people. They will reverse a call to your home, to your cell phone, to whatever is listed. You'll get a message with directions and instructions. From there, if it's an immediate threat, like if we show up at somebody's house and it's an immediate threat, we'll make personal contact with somebody or the neighbors, whatever it may justify, to get them out of the way. So it's very simple. The reverse 911 call will probably come if there is a large-scale emergency. Then you'll just follow directions of the firemen, the sheriff's office, the EMA people, and we'll get you to where you need to be. The most important thing is once you're notified is don't panic. If you keep a calm, level head, then you can proceed to where you need to go and take direction from us, because you're listening to everything we have to say and not just half of what we have to say.
During a wildfire, what is the firefighter's responsibility? Like, how would a firefighter react to the situation?
Okay, during a wildfire, our first responsibility, just like an emergency, is life safety. Everybody's life, your life, my life, whatever life it may be, is first priority. And then we look at structural priorities. So it would be you, a house, or you, the cars, or personal, and it's all dictated by how and what type of fire we have. Is the fire a fast-moving fire? It's going to determine our actions as to what we're going to do. If it's a slower-moving fire, it's going to determine our actions, what to do. So to put a scope on everything as to what we'll do or what is most important, the scene that we arrive on in that split 2 minutes or minute of being there, when we determine what we have and what's going on, determines what role will come first. Very plain and simple. If you're not in the house, we don't have to worry about a life safety, and we just have to worry about the fire. If you're not up on a trail, or we know there's nobody down this path, you know, in this backyard where there's this fire, then we don't have to worry about the life, we worry about the property first. Not saying that we take any one greater than the other. It just depends on what type of scenario we have as to what action we'll take.
Are firefighters the only people that are working on the scene directly trying to burn out the wildfire? Are there people assisting them?
Okay, burnouts are done to reduce fire rating, whether it be a firefighting tactic or not. Firefighters are not the only ones, but everybody has a fire training in wildland firefighting. We have inmate crews throughout the country. We have contract crews throughout the country. We've cross-trained military personnel to support these large operations in firefighting. We have all these different people, firefighters, structural guys. You have the wildland and the U.S. Forestry Service people that are all trained with a basic level of training for wildland firefighter. Let me just kind of put this in there. There's 3 ways we fight wildland fire. We either take its fuel from either burning out or removing it and making a fire break. We either smother it with airdrops and retardant, or we cool it with water. Those are the 3 main ways that we fight wildfires, and that is across the country. That is how everybody fights it, whether it's Maine to Florida to California to Washington, wherever you want to go. That is the technique that's used, is those 3.
All right. What can homeowners do to reduce their chances of wildfires around their homes, and what causes the homes to start burning during wildfires?
Okay, there is a multiple of programs that give suggestions on how and what you should do to reduce the risk of wildfire on a home. It's very simple. It's a reduction in the fuel. It starts with mowing your grass, trimming your bushes, taking care of your flower beds, blowing leaves away, things like that. They're very simple things. The common misconception is to stop a fire that you have to clear everything. And that's not exactly true. So we kind of select things that we take out. So instead of being 20 trees in an area, we may only put 12 trees in that area. And we reduce down the amount of fuel that's available. Most commonly, 9 times out of the 10, a house does not burn from the fire front. From that big wall of flames or that small wall of flames, most commonly in a wildland fire, the house does not burn from that. It burns from the embers that fly almost a mile to 2 miles in front of that fire front, and the embers land in the gutters where leaves are. They land on patio furniture on the deck. They land in wood piles stored next to the house. They go up underneath the deck where leaves have blown, and it has a source to start a fire. So the ember gets into that, starts the leaves, or starts the grass, or the mulch, or the pine straw, or something around the house, and then it goes into the structure. So 9 times out of 10, you'll find that the house will burn prior to the front getting there. Or the other case would be is after the front moves and the wind is blowing backwards, the embers still have a chance to do it. So most commonly it's not the fire that sets it, but embers.
In a situation that a fast-moving wildfire were to ever begin spreading in our area, what would you advise the families do to evacuate safely?
If there is a case of a rapid fire in Forsyth County area, or just like any place else, the local officials will give you orders. Whether we have choices of things we can do, we could shelter you in place, which means we're going to keep you in your house so we know where you are, because maybe the scenario dictates that you can't get down the road to get out. It's up to us to determine what is the best thing to protect you. Life is our main responsibility. We might send you to an area, maybe a school or someplace where there's a large open area where we don't have to worry about you, and start sending residents there so the emergency management people can show up and help take care of you with whatever you may need. But if it is a fast-moving fire in your direction, the most important thing is for you to get to a safe spot. So you're trying to get to a roadway or some open place where it is not wooded and full of leaves and everything else that will help that fire travel. But most important is you make the phone call to 911 so that we can get there to do what we have to do to protect you and your home. Most commonly, our fires are not fast moving. We do have a burn season where intensity increases, but most commonly what we find here is a half-acre fire because we get the quick notifications because people have found them and call us. And that's what helps us keep our fires small, is a quick response time to it so we can remediate the hazard.
Okay.
The big difference between a wildland fire and a structure fire is simply a building is like a box. It has walls and barriers, and a building most commonly will burn just the building, the contents in the building or that building, and then you have grassy area there to stop it. Outside of that, when you get to a wildland area, as long as there's fuel, as long as there's woods, as long as there's grass, as long as there's leaves, there's no borders or barriers or walls to stop that fire. We in the wildland firefighting, like I said, we would take away the fuel most commonly to fight a fire. So we'll go in with bulldozers or hand tools and guys with leaf blowers, and we'll put in these lines to stop the fire. So where you have a house fire, it's pretty much like a box, and outside of it, in the wildland interface, it's just whatever is available, and whichever way the wind is going or the land is sloped is going to change the direction of that fire. Where a house, it stays confined. So that's the big difference in it.
Has there been any big fire in Georgia that has made an impact on the people of the state?
Yes, absolutely. There have been big fires in Georgia that have impacted the economy as well as people. We had the swamp fire and timber company down there, and it was started and it burned through the timber company, which devastated. I mean, they were cutting thousands upon thousands of acres of burned trees because they weren't any good from the fire after the fire came through because of the magnitude of the fire. We lost homes down there. We had homes in North Georgia in 2016 when we came around to our time, and this goes back to the climate a little bit. We have cycles that come through. Every 3-year drought, every 3 years it's wet, every 5-year drought. Well, when all those combine, it makes for a tougher fire season for us, more active fire season. We were on our 10-year cycle at 2016. Fires increased by almost 400 calls for Georgia Forestry Commission in 2016 to respond to. Multiple acre calls. Rayburn County, all the way up through the northeast, all the way up into Cloudland Forest up there. It's just, we were all over the place. It has an impact, not only just for the environment and on people's homes. The smoke from larger fires affects the health of people. Asthmatics, things, stuff like that can have problems because of the smoke and soot and everything like that. Matter of fact, just a week ago, a little over a week ago, the Atlanta area actually had a haze from the fires in California. It made it all the way across on the jet stream. It wasn't anything major, but if you looked up at the sun, it had a little haze to it, and that was the byproduct from all the fire and the smoke in California. So not just locally, but we get effects from other parts of the country.
Based on the history of wildland fires, do you believe that the effect of wildland fires is going to be more deadly as the years pass on? Why or why not?
Do I feel like we're going to increase or not? I can't give that to you. Can I tell you what the most effective way is? And it's the biggest campaign in U.S. history, and that is Smokey the Bear, when he says only you can prevent forest fires. When he made that statement, the American people accepted that for more than the value. Because of it, because we were so proactive, we have kind of put ourselves in the position of having these mega fires because we're quick to go out and put them out. It's what we should do. We, in the long run, appear to be having to change our tactics and changing how we do things. So the prevention for it to lower fire risk is truly the Smokey the Bear campaign. People accepting that they may have hidden dangers around their house that they could alleviate to help protect their house. And also remember that you're responsible for your fire. If you light a campfire to cook or to have a social gathering at, or hot dogs, whatever it may be, you're responsible for it. Make sure it's out when it's done. If we can combine all that together, we can improve the chances of not having another catastrophic situation where there's a great loss of life. I don't think anybody would put a number on will it get worse or better. The fact shows that the more that people move into the urban interface, the more chances there are for fires because of the human interaction, because of what we do and how we live. I would like to add that if anybody has any interest, they're welcome to either get in touch with the Forsyth County Fire Department or do some research on your own. You can use FireWise, and if you just type that into your Google search engine, it'll come up, and it's FireWise, and it gives you ideas, plans, small things you can do for little or no money to help improve your chances with your surroundings, from leaf removal to limbing trees. And it'll help your chances if there is a wildfire. We commonly see smaller, low-grade fires, 3 to 9 foot flames, not like the huge ones that you see. And during our wet season, we usually run smaller fires, and they're like 6 inches to 1 foot flame, depending on what material is burning. So where the threat is there, unless everything's in line, it won't be, we hope it won't be a large-scale fire.
Well, again, thank you very much for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.